Shalom everyone, and thank you for joining me in the study of Parashat Vayishlach. In Parashat Vayishlach, Jacob, is returning. He's returning back home. And he obviously is concerned, he's afraid, might be even terrified for meeting his brother Esau. He fled the country, Yaakov fled the country because of two main reasons. One, his tremendous fear that Esau is going to kill him. And the second one was the commandment of his parents to find a wife. He found a wife, he established a family, he's on his way home. And he's going to confront Esau. This confrontation, this meeting between Esau and Yaakov, obviously ignited the imagination of Chazal, of our sages. And what we will try to do today is to try to understand what was, as they call today, the vibe. What was the relationship between Esau and Yaakov? Did they try to reconcile their differences? Or everyone basically decided to part ways and to go their own separate way? So, if we start with a pasuk in Bereshit Lamed Bet, pasuk Yud Bet, chapter 32, verse 12, it says, "Hatzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav, ki yareh anochi oto pen yavo veikani em al banim." Basically, Yaakov davens to Hashem, he prays to Hashem, "Please, God, save me from my brother, from Esau, because I'm afraid of him. And what is my fear? He will come and will strike me down and will destroy my family. My entire future will be destroyed." Yaakov was not worried only about himself. He was worried that his family, who were really not involved with that, will also be punished or will be hit or killed by Esau. So he asked Hashem, "Please, save me from my brother Esau." So we obviously know and we understand, and the narrative does not hide it, that Yaakov was terrified from that meeting. And probably he had a good reason to do it, as the narrative suggests. Vayisai Yaakov einav vayar, and Yaakov lifted his eyes and he saw what? V'nei Esav ba. Esau is coming. Ve'imo 400 ish, and he comes with 400 mercenaries, people who are basically were hired to kill. ויחץ את הילדים עליה ועל רחל ועל שתי השפחות. So, when Yaakov see this threat, he basically squeezed the entire family into one group and tried to basically to defend them, to create some kind of a defensive, that if Esau comes, he will be able to somehow to defend his family. And then, the surprise. The narrative is basically trying to portray the fear, the concerns that Yaakov has, and the fact that he's trying to squeeze the family together, and you are ready for what? For an attack. Esau is basically charging a war, Yaakov is trying to defend himself, God will intervene, but that's not what the narrative says. The narrative says, "Vayarotz Esav likrato, vayechabkeu." Esau basically ran towards Yaakov, and he gave him a big hug. Vayipol al tzavarav vayishakeu, and he fell on his neck, and he gave him a kiss. Vayivku, and they cried. You could not plan a better drama and a better story than what the Torah suggests. Basically, it builds up the drama, and you are afraid here Esau is going to strike Yaakov, and instead, specifically Esau, he made the decision not to do it. He runs towards Yaakov, and you can imagine he's running, and Yaakov is afraid or doesn't know what to do, but instead of trying to kill him, he gives him a big hug. He fell on his shoulder or on his neck, and he gives him a kiss, and they cry together. Sounds lovely. So you would think that Yaakov will reciprocate. And he will say, "Yeah, sure, Esau, my brother, so good to see you. All those years I really missed you, or I didn't, but it's lovely to see you. What about the family? How are your kids doing? How are my parents doing?" But then, you see something interesting. Esau asked Yaakov the following questions. "Vayomer mi lecha kol hamachane hazeh asher pagashti?" Says Esau asked Yaakov, who are all those people that I met on the way? Some messengers, emissaries, I see that you have women here, children. Who are all those people? ויאמר למצוא חן בעיני אדוני. So he said, no, it's only to find favor in the eyes of my master. All the gifts, everything I sent you, it was all for you. It's really not mine. ויאמר עשיו, יש לי רב, אחי, יהי לך אשר לך. If we read the simple understanding of the narrative, basically Esau says to him, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't want your gifts. I have plenty. I have more than plenty. יש לי רב. Whatever is yours is yours. And it seems to be that Esau does not show any anger about the blessings anymore. If you remember, a week ago in Parashat, 2 weeks ago in Parashat Toldot, we had that Yaakov stole the blessings, and part of the blessings was material blessings, blessings of plenty and wealth. But it seems to be that the two brothers are doing very well. Esau is very wealthy, and he does not want gifts, he does not need them. And Yaakov is very wealthy because he can give gifts. But everyone is happy. So it seems to be that there is some kind of reconciliation. Everyone is very happy. ויאמר יעקב, אנא, אם נא מצאתי חן בעיניך ולקחת מנחתי מידי, כי על כן ראיתי פניך כראות פני אלוקים ותרצני. So Yaakov says to Esau, no, please, take the gifts I gave you. Because seeing you, it's like seeing a face of an angel. So please take it. קח נא את ברכתי אשר הובאת לך, please take my gifts that I brought you, כי חנני אלוקים וכי יש לי כל, because God was very gracious to me, and I also have everything I need. ויבצר בו ויקח. So he asked him, he besieged him, and basically begged him, please take those gifts, and Esau took it. So, even now, you would think, this is beautiful. Esau and Yaakov are able to find a common ground. It seems to be that Esau is really not angry with Yaakov anymore. It seems to be based on the narrative that Yaakov is still like a little bit concerned. He has some doubts. He's really trying to appease Esau, which is a bit of a submissive way, but still, it seems to be that things are fine. So the reader looks at the narrative and says, okay, if I was the one to now write the continuation of this story, I would probably suggest that Yaakov and Esau are giving hands and they walk together to see their parents. And after 22 years, they come back and the family sit together and everyone is happy. But no. Vayomer, so Esau says to Yaakov, Nis'a v'nelcha ve'elcha lenegdecha. You know what? Let's travel together. There is still some distance between here and back to our parents' home. I'll walk with you. This is a very gracious offer. Esau can escort Yaakov, and maybe with his men, and it will protect Yaakov. However, Yaakov says to Esau, ויאמר אליו אדוני יודע, כי הילדים רכים והצאן והבקר עלות עליי, ודפקום יום אחד ומתו כל הצאן. So Yaakov says to Esau, Adoni. Now it's very interesting. He doesn't refer to him as my brother, and he doesn't say his name. He calls him my master, which is obviously a bit strange. Esau did not act like a master to a servant, but Yaakov, in his mindset, he refers to Esau as his master now. He says, my children are young, and I have a lot of flock and sheep and lamb and goats and cows, and you walk faster than me, so if I'll walk so fast with you, they will not be able to manage the trip. יעבור נא אדוני לפני עבדו, ואני אתנעלה לאיתי לרגל המלאכה אשר לפניי ולרגל הילדים עד אשר אבוא אל אדוני שעירה. Yaakov says to Esau, you know what, my master, you go first, and I'll walk slowly, my pace, until I will reach your town, Seira. Your town's name, Seira. So, thank you, but no thank you. I don't want you to go with me. I don't want you to walk with me. I don't want you to escort me. I'll go my pace, you'll go your pace, and I'll come and visit you. ויאמר עשיו, הציגה נא עמך מן העם אשר איתי. So Esau says, you know what? Okay, you don't want me to walk with you, but you know what? Maybe I should introduce some of the people with me to you. ויאמר למה זה ימצא חן בעיני אדוני? Please, why should I find disfavor in my master's eyes. Thank you, but you know what? I'm not interested to meet any one of your group. וישוב ביום ההוא עשיו לדרכו שעירה. So, Esau basically decided to return back to his home, Seira. And that's the end of the story. Now, when you look at this narrative without the interpretation of our sages, you cannot not ask, what is going on here? Esau, who was basically the one that the blessings were stolen from him. I know there are reasons he sold their first rights, but still, he was the one who got insulted, got hurt. He is trying everything to be back with Yaakov, to escort him, not to accept his gifts, to walk with him, to be with him, to introduce some of his men to Yaakov, and to become brothers again. But the one who is pushing him and rejecting him is Yaakov. And not only that, Yaakov says, I will walk in my pace until I will reach my master in his town and I'll go and visit him. If you read the entire Torah, Yaakov never did it. Yaakov never came to visit Esau. The only time and the last time that Yaakov and Esau met was at Yitzchak's funeral. So Yaakov is basically telling Esau something that was never fulfilled. So how can we understand, or why is it that Yaakov refused any connection and any reconciliation even with Esau? Why did he keep his distance from Esau? Chazal, our sages, ask the same questions. Because based on the narrative, Esau seems very gracious, and Yaakov seems, very resentful to any connection with his brother. What did he see, according to our sages, that he could not allow himself to come closer to Esau? So, one of the most famous interpretations is Rashi, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchaki, from the 11th century in France. And he says, Vayishakeu, that when Esau gave a kiss to Yaakov, nakud alav. If you look at the Torah, the word Vayishakeu, when he gave him a kiss, has some dots on top of it. יש שדרשו נקודה זו, שלא נשקו בכל ליבו. Some people say that why are there dots on Vayishakeu, to tell you that that kiss was tainted, which means really Esau gave him a kiss, but Yaakov understood that that kiss is maybe a polite kiss, a kiss out of politeness, but that was not a kiss that showed full love and compassion from one brother to another. And from that, Amar Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, halacha hi, meaning it's a known fact and it's an established fact in Jewish literature that what? Beyadua she'esav soneh leYaakov. Esau hates Yaakov. But the narrative suggests differently. He says, אלא שנכמרו רחמיו באותה שעה ונשקו בכל ליבו. There was one moment in history that Esau and whatever they represent, might say that according to our sages, Esau represents the Romans. And the Romans, which later on became Christianity, at least according to Chazal, and they obviously did not show too much favor to Judaism, especially if you look at Crusaders and if you look even before and after. So basically what Rashi says, quoting Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, is that Esau and Yaakov will never be able to reconcile their differences. Esau hates Yaakov. By the way, does not say the opposite. Yaakov does not hate Esau. Esau hates Yaakov and he always wanted to kill him. Just after so many years when Esau saw Yaakov, he says, my little brother, I'll give him a kiss. I have some mercy on him today, but tomorrow? Yaakov thought or felt or was concerned that Esau can turn like that and kill him. So Yaakov says, thank you. I really appreciate your compassion and love that you show me today, but I can't trust you. I can't trust you that you will continue to do it for many years to come, and therefore we need to separate ways. So first and foremost, you understand the motivation of our sages in this interpretation to try to understand how come that Yaakov did not reciprocate to the love that was shown to him by Esau. So Chazal says, don't fall into this play. Don't basically fall into this trap that Esau is preparing for you. Esau just pretend to really love Yaakov, and maybe that was a moment of weakness in Esau's mindset. He hates you. Therefore, separate ways. Keep your distance. It's obviously a very sad commentary that Yaakov couldn't see a way to influence Esau or to try to perpetuate this love and compassion that was shown in that moment, but it seems to be that the history may be derived from that moment, or maybe it was already predestined that Esau will be here and Yaakov will be here, and they need to part ways. Rabbi Sforno, from the 16th century in Italy, says the following: Vayarotz Esav. If you remember, when Esau saw Yaakov, he ran towards him. So the Sforno says, Nehepach libo kmo rega be'achnaotav shel Yaakov. Meaning, Esau ran towards Yaakov not because he loved him so much, but rather, if you remember, at the beginning of the Parsha, Yaakov sends emissaries with tremendous amount of flock to try to appease Esau. Gave him a gift after a gift after a gift, and the emissaries will tell Esau, this is a gift from your servant Yaakov, and Yaakov is your servant, and he gives you gifts. So, basically the goal was to try to what? To appease, to sweet talk Esau. And when Esau saw how submissive Yaakov is, so he says, really, the blessings that my father gave him are not real. Because look at him. My father gave him blessings that he's going to control everyone, and he will have the domain, and he will have so much wealth, and I'm going to be his servant. No. It's exactly the opposite. Therefore, this submission on Yaakov's part basically allowed Esau to what? To say, those blessings, there is nothing to fight for. Because Mimela, because even without it, I'm in control. Look how he is trying to what? To basically submit himself to me and to try to find favor in my eyes. So then the Sforno says, כי ענייננו בגלות עם בני עשיו. האומר בגובו מיורידנו ארץ והורה שנהיה נמלטים מיד חרב גאוותו בהכנעה ומנחה. The Sforno, this is 16th century Italy. That's the beginning even of the Renaissance. But still, Sforno, who was a doctor, who was a rabbi, who was a scholar, who was a philosopher, he understands that the only way the Jews can survive in galut, in exile, in the 16th century, is by what? By submitting themselves to Adonai Haaretz, to the masters of the country. And if you will submit yourself, and you will be humble in front of them, they will not kill you. Another very sad commentary on Jewish history, that the only way you can survive in a foreign country is only by submitting yourself and subduing yourself to the master of the country. But the Sforno says you learn it from Yaakov and Esau. Yaakov understood that in order to survive this confrontation with Esau, he cannot show any type of wealth, any type of mastery, but rather, I'm your servant. You are my master, and you can see from the language. He doesn't say, oh, my brother, oh, Esau. He says, my master. Basically reflecting a relationship of a master and a servant. The Sforno says, this is the lesson for Galut. This is the lesson of being in exile. If you want to survive, submit yourself. So therefore we can understand also why Yaakov didn't want to hang out with Esau. He says, I showed my submission, now let's part ways, and I don't want to have too much to do with you. Rabbi Yitzchak Don Abarbanel, 15th century in Spain, says the following: ואני אתנעלה לאיתי לרגל המלאכה אשר איתי עד אשר אבוא אל אדוני שעירה. So Yaakov says to Esau, I will go my pace, I'll go slowly, because of my family, my little children, and all this flock, until I will reach the place of my master. So the Abarbanel really asked, it never happened. Yaakov never went to visit his brother, so how could he say that? So the Abarbanel suggests the following: ותהיה הכוונה, the meaning of what Yaakov said was, עד אשר אבוא אל אדוני, until I will come to my master, not Esau, but rather על יצחק אביו, שילך לאיתו, עד אשר יבוא לאיתו אל יצחק, שהוא האדון שלו באמת. Abarbanel said something very innovative, but I would say that it's probably not the pshat, not the simple understanding of the verse. He wanted to claim, I will go backwards, if you look here, the third verse, like the third sentence in this paragraph, אני אתנעלה לאיתי לרגל המלאכה אשר לפניי, I will go my pace, I will go slowly with my kids and my flock, עד אשר אבוא אל אדוני. So the Abarbanel says, who is Adoni, who is my master? Yitzchak, which means I'm not going to visit you, I'm going to visit my father. But Abarbanel omits one word, Seira, which is where Esau dwelled, which really the simple understanding of the verse is that really Yaakov says he's going to come and visit Esau. But I guess the Abarbanel felt that it never happened, so he needs to give a different interpretation. So he says, no, really Yaakov says to Esau, you're not my master is Yitzchak, and I'm going to visit him, my father. There's also another problem with this interpretation, is that Yaakov refers to Esau as my master even at the beginning of this paragraph, which means, or which applies, that every time it says my master, it really means Esau and not Yitzchak. But why did I bring this interpretation? To show you how the Abarbanel tried to find two things. A, to try to understand who is he talking to, and B, how to avoid the issue of what? Of Yaakov said something, but he never fulfilled it. So until now, we really have some kind of an understanding of why, or what's the reason that Yaakov did not really want to try to make up with, I don't know if this will be the word to make up, it's probably to find some way to of reconciliation between him and Esau, because in Yaakov's view, Esau was still a negative person, a negative influence, someone who you don't want to be with, someone who does not deserve the brachot, and someone who does not deserve a share in Am Yisrael's future. So, in Bereshit Rabbah, they try to give an interpretation that has a totally different angle on this confrontation between Yaakov and Esau. It says, "Vayashav bayom hahu Esav ledarko se'ira," that Esau went back to his hometown. So the Midrash asked a very simple question. "Ve'arba ish hayu imo, eichan hem?" Esau came with 400 people. Where are they? It says that only Esau went back. Where are all those people? So the Midrash suggests, Nishmetu kol echad ve'echad halach ledarko. You know what they did? When they saw Yaakov and his family, each one of them went his own way. Why? Amru shelo nikave begachalto shel Yaakov. This is an amazing interpretation. We focused and zoomed in on whom? Esau and Yaakov. Their confrontation. Esau is trying to make friends with Yaakov. Yaakov rejects him. Now we understand why Yaakov rejects him, or at least we suggested a few things. But we forgot there are more people involved. The 400 people that Esau came with. The mercenaries. The people who were hired to kill Yaakov. Why didn't they do their job? And where are they? The answer is, they saw Yaakov And they saw probably his holiness, or maybe they saw something very special with that person. And they said, you know what? We are not doing anything to him. He is a special, unique, holy person. So we went home. מתי פרה להם הקדוש ברוך הוא? So Hashem paid them. Hashem repaid them for what they did in Sefer Shmuel, in the book of Samuel, that were able to escape. Now, what's the point of this Midrash? This is something very interesting. I think this Midrash is saying something that we didn't think about before. We portrayed Yaakov as someone who is very afraid, is very concerned, and therefore he is trying to appease Esau. It might be. But at the time of the confrontation, the other people, the 400 people, when they saw Yaakov, they were terrified of him. They understood that he is a special person, he is protected by probably a divine force. They did not want to have anything to do with him. They did not want to fight him. Who was the one who didn't see it? Esau. This Midrash is reversing our understanding and suggesting that Esau looked at Yaakov the same way he looked at him when he was a young boy. And especially he interpreted the submission that Yaakov showed him as weakness, as a point of weakness. Instead of thinking to himself, wait a moment, he fled Eretz Israel 20 plus years ago, built a family, came with this tremendous amount of luck, survived everything, comes here, he comes home. You know what? Maybe I should be afraid of him. He has the chutzpah, as we say in Hebrew. He is daring to come home, and he's going to what? To receive whatever was promised to him. Esau didn't change his perception, and when Esau says to Yaakov, I will walk with you, Yaakov says to him, no, you didn't get the picture. You don't understand reality. I'm not walking with you. We were separated at the time of the blessings. Yitzchak gave me Abraham's blessings. I am the true heir. I am the one who is going to carry on the legacy. I'm not walking with you. Not now, not today, not tomorrow. And you know what? Probably not ever. Don't think Yaakov says to Esau based on this Midrash, which definitely reversed all our understanding. Yaakov is not in his weak point, exactly the opposite. He is strong, he knows exactly what is his destiny, what is his goals and aims, what is his mission in life. Esau, you're going to what? To basically interrupt me, and therefore I am not interested of walking with you. You can't join me now. You sold your first for the first rights of the firstborn. I took your blessings. I did exactly what my parents told me. I went, I took wives from my mother's family. I came back, I have family. This is the beginning of Am Yisrael. Please step aside. I'm not interested. So here, this interpretation, unlike all the other interpretations, that basically says that Yaakov was afraid or that Esau really didn't like him. Yaakov here was not interested if you like him or not. I have a mission to fulfill. I have a destiny to accomplish. I have future generations to inspire. You are not part of that destiny. And therefore, go home. Let me walk le'at, slowly. I know that I'm not going to fulfill my mission today or tomorrow. I know that I am going to carry the Brit Bein HaBetarim, the covenant between the parts. I know that my descendants are going to go down to Egypt. I know they are going to be enslaved. I know that God is going to redeem them. I know that God is going to bring them to the land of Israel, and then they will be expelled, and they will come back, and they will be expelled, and there will be a Holocaust, and there will be October 7th, and there will be all those wars. I know it, and I am willing to carry it on my shoulders, because I understood what does it mean to be a Bechor, to be a firstborn, and to carry on the legacy of Avram. But you, Esau, you left. You have no rights to be part of the Jewish destiny. And therefore Yaakov says from a place of strength, thank you, but no thank you. Go home, let me walk my way. Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, in his commentary on Chumash, focus on this, what I call parting ways, and the moment in this historical junction that basically perpetuated and imbued really the separation. Vayashov ledarko Seira. Esau went back to Seir, to his hometown. Kavanat teivat ledarko eina ברורה כל צוקה. In the pasuk it says Vayashov ledarko Seira, and he went back to his way to Seira. The pasuk could have said Vayashov Seira, and he returned Seira. What does it mean ledarko, to his way? So he suggests, ייתכן שהיא מציינת את כיוון החיים והלך הרוח שאליהם חוזר עתה עשיו. לדרכו means to his behavior, not necessarily a geographical path, but rather a behavioral pattern, which means Esau went back to his old ways. שכן זוהי הפעם האחרונה, because this is the last time. בה רואים אנו את יעקב ועשיו ביחד ומכאן ואילך נפרדו דרכי חייהם לגמרי. That was a moment in history when Esau and Yaakov met, and that was the last time they met. כשם שמפגש גיד אנשי יגיע לקיומו ולהשלמתו בעתיד הרחוק, כך גם הפגישה המכובדת הזו בין האחים אינה אלא סימן ורמז למהות היחסים שישלטו לבסוף באחרית הימים בין יעקב לעשיו, אך ביום ההוא וכן לימים מרובים שלאחריו שב עשיו לשעיר לדרכו הרגילה. Rabbi Shimshon Raphael here said something fascinating. He says there was a moment of some kind of respect between Yaakov and Esau. He reads this confrontation a little bit different. He says Yaakov and Esau spoke in a very respectful way to each other. But after that, they didn't talk anymore. There were many conflicts between Yaakov and Esau. And as Yaakov was hurt when he struggled with the angel, which according to our sages was the angel of Esau, and he was hurt, and his remedy will come later on in future times. Also a remedy or a reconciliation between Yaakov and Esau might happen in the future. And it will be a little bit more of a respectful conversation between them, but not today. Perhaps in the future. The Netziv suggests yet a different option. And he says, Vayashov Esav ledarko, Vayashov ledarko seira, says ברוגז מעט. Esau was upset. ולא נפטרו זה מזה בנשיקה כמו לבן, אלא הלך לו שעירה. They didn't separate with a kiss and a hug, or even a handshake. He just left. ומשום אחי לא הלך עוד יעקב לשעיר לקבל ממנו כבוד אחר שראה פני עשיו שאינו עמו עוד. Now the Netziv suggests something which it's a little strange, because basically Esau is trying and trying and trying, and Yaakov says no, no, no. So Esau got the message, you don't want to hang out with me, I'm going home. But the Netziv says that when Esau went home, he was berogez, he was upset. And Yaakov saw that he's upset and says, you know what, if he's upset, I cannot predict what he can do. So, you know what, leave him alone. I'm not going to go and visit him. Which means basically now the Netziv blames Esau for Yaakov's reaction to him, which is a very interesting thing. It seems to be that Esau really has the right to be upset. I try to walk with you, I try to introduce to you my friends, you say no, 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 so okay, I got the message, I'm going home. But the Netziv says that Yaakov saw that Esau was berogez, he was upset, and therefore Yaakov didn't want to go with Esau. The last source gives us somewhat of a insight to future times. In Bereshit Rabbah, our sages suggest the following. אמר רבי אבאו, חזרנו על כל המקרא ולא מצאנו שהלך יעקב אבינו אצל עשיו להר שעיר מימיו. Rabbi Abahu says, we read the entire Torah and we never found anywhere that Yaakov went to visit his brother Esau. אפשר יעקב אמיתי היה ומרמה בו? How can you explain that? Yaakov is the attribute of truth, of emet. So what, he lied to Esau and the Torah will document it? Like I'm telling you, oh, I'll see you tomorrow and I never intend to come tomorrow? How can you explain something like that? אלא מתי הוא בא אצלו? No, Yaakov didn't lie. Yaakov did not deceive Esau again. He told him the truth. He will come and visit him. You know when? לעתיד לבוא. In the future. At the end of times. הדה הוא דכתיב, as the pasuk says in Ovadia, ועלו מושיעים בהר ציון, and the saviors, the redeemers, will ascend on the mountain of Zion, לשפוט את הר עשיו, to judge the mountain of Esau. Ooh, that's harsh. That's not going to be a friendly visit. That's going to be a very judgy visit. Basically, Am Yisrael will judge, and judging is not only to judge it, but it's also to punish Esau for what they did, but there is some good news. After the judgment, it seems to be that they will be able to establish perhaps new relationships and new friendships between Yaakov and Esau. There is something fascinating in this Midrash. When you look at Jewish history and you will look at general history, the ups and downs between Judaism and Christianity, the terrible afflictions and tribulations, challenges that Jews had to go through the Christian world, and now you look at the 21st century and you see that Christianity and Judaism to some extent have no conflict in terms of killing or crusades or things like that. You might ask yourself if we are somewhat heading to what our sages suggest in Bereshit Rabbah. Will be a future of a different world in the next coming years. Would Esau will really be able to change his heart and to fully have love to Yaakov, his brother, and to understand that Yaakov, really to understand what his men, his 400 men understood, that Yaakov is a special person, that Am Yisrael was chosen to inspire, to lead, to guide all humanity back to Gan Eden. Time will tell, but I think our sages tried their best to try to explain Yaakov's rejection to Esau, to understand the narrative, and to maybe even hope for better days for all of us. Thank you.